What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P, the Blunt God. Hey, I almost forgot the. Hey, sorry, y'all. I'm a little distracted. I think something might be wrong with the audio. I couldn't really hear the music I had playing through my headphones. So hopefully that doesn't become a problem with the video we'll be watching today, right? So hopefully I can hear that. Maybe it's just the music. Maybe I need to change settings in the program I was using with the music. I don't know. We'll see though. But yeah. So anyway, glad to have you guys here. Glad we got Angel's Room in the chat. He said, "Yo, what's good? What's good? Angel's Room was good with you." But yeah, but before I get into all that, well, first, let me, where am I? What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I'm just distracted. That threw me off, guys. That threw me off. Today we will be reacting to a video from Joy Boy, right? Okay, so I want to say last weekend I had to chat with Elids and Best Generation, and I think one thing I brought up was the mystery of Tequila Wolf. You said I'm quieter than usual. I don't. I do not know what's going on. Am I? Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better? Let me know in the chat if I'm a little better. I turned it up a little bit. I ain't want it to be too much. Uh, you say I'm better? I'm better. All right. So he says, yeah. Okay. So in the recent discussion, I talked to one thing I mentioned was Tequila Wolf, right? That's like one of those mysteries of One Piece that we don't really have many answers for, like that bridge that they're building, right? Leave me alone. So yeah, so I had to kind of go back, right? Had to kind of dig a little bit, and I found this theory. It's 2 years old, so it's not like a new theory because these days not many people are talking about like Tequila Wolf or anything. So, kind of is what it is. So I found a theory from Joy Boy Theories from 2 years ago that I thought would be interesting to discuss. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications if you haven't subscribed yet. And also follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and Facebook. And if you're looking for a One Piece community to be a part of, we have the One Piece Discord and the One Piece Facebook group. All of these will be linked in the description below, as well as the link to the video we'll be, reacting to, right? So I'm thinking of something. Is my headphones just not connected? Uh, mm, mm. Well, I'll see if I can hear it through the YouTube video. But yeah, before we get into that, let me see what you guys saying in the chat. We got Cube says the smoothie didn't kick in yet. Oh, it's kicked in. It's just now when I started the stream and the music that I usually have playing, I can't hear it in my headphones. I couldn't hear it, right? So I don't know if it's going to be the same way when we start the video, like the YouTube video. I don't know if my headphones. So I don't know if it's something going on with my headphones. If something wrong with my audio, my box, or if it's the settings changed in my Streamlabs. I don't know. I don't know, guys. But we're gonna see when we get into this video. But all right, so talking about this bridge, right? The little we know about it is something that it's a government from the world, or it's a project of the world government, right? I guess they're trying to connect islands and countries and stuff, right? To make it to make it easier to travel, right? That makes the world government's forces easily dispatchable, right? So if they need to send forces somewhere, they don't have to rely on ships, right? Having to travel on ships alone. So, like a big bridge that connect major countries, that would be very useful for the world government. I don't know if you guys get into like conspiracy theories and all that, but there's a there's kind of there's a theory right there that the U.S. are trying to create these mega cities, and there's even a website if you go to USA 2020 or USA 2050, something like that, where by the year 2050 they're trying to have mega cities and these big highways connecting to these mega cities and skipping over little like smaller cities. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to contain people in these big cities. That's conspiracy theories. Nothing I'm trying to get into, but I only connect that because we kind of connect real world conspiracy theories to One Piece theories, right? Because there's a lot of mirroring, right, from the real world to One Piece. Like we know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories within One Piece. We as the viewers see these conspiracy theories or these events, so they're not so much as conspiracy theories to us because we see how they unfold in the background. But if you're just some normal everyday citizen at in the world of One Piece that don't know these things because you're not watching from a outside perspective, these would indeed be conspiracy theories, right? Angel's Room said the fact that they want to connect islands with these bridges make you wonder if they actually made the red line to keep them apart. Yeah, but then that's where we ask, where did the red line come from, right? Like, did they make the red line? Like, now I do think they're artificial, so I kind of agree with you, right? That they were made, but it's never really been explained. It's never really been explained if they're like where their origins, or if they have indeed always been there, you know. I don't think so. I think somewhere did say they weren't natural, so that would imply that somebody did make them, you know. But yeah, so back to the bridge, right? Like, so okay, so because the bridge of Tequila Wolf is something we don't really that's not talked about often, right? So that's why good old reliable Joy Boy. You gotta leave it to Joy Boy in order to pretty much talk about these things that a lot of people don't talk about. I mean, I would say a lot older One Piece content creators, especially in the YouTube sphere that have been on the platform for a long time. I believe at one point, most of them talked about it, but nowadays everybody kind of forget about Tequila Wolf. So we're gonna get into this video, y'all. I'm gonna probably play the video just to see if I can hear it. If I can't hear it, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to be able to hear it. And I think I got an idea, but um, I'm gonna have to check the settings later. But let's get into. Oh, and then let me also add, right? We did revisit Tequila Wolf in the Odin flashback. We see Odin with the Rogers Pirates, and this is like this was a part where they just kind of was talking about a couple islands that they uh, visited. When after Odin went with the Roger Pirates, you know, He went to Tequila Wolf. We seen that they went to Ennis Lobby. I'm trying to think the other places they visit. Those were two notable places, right? So, but let's get into this.
The bridge on Tequila Wolf.
Okay, yeah, I don't hear it. I don't hear it. Let me see something, guys. Give me a quick second. Not a quick second, but give me a second, y'all. Let me see if this worked.
Thing that you guys should remember.
Nope, that didn't work either. Output. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with my it might be my settings, I think. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have to use my speakers, so that means I'm gonna have to mute my mic every once in a while, guys, just so you're not getting the feedback on my speaker. You know, it's usually why I use headphones, because if I use my speaker, the feedback is gonna go into the mic. I try to avoid that. So let's do this. I'm gonna have to mute the mic.
The bridge on Tequila Wolf. I think that you guys should remember it. After Sabaody, when Kuma sent the strats flying to various places in the world, this is where
All right, y'all. Let me I'm come right back. All right, y'all gonna have to give me a second, because I might have to mess with some things. I'm not even getting it through my speaker, so it must be something.
he sent Rob. A
All right, we back. I fixed it. I just, the good old unplug something, plug it right back in. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's what you do. We got Sozo in the chat talking about some Uchiha Madara best character. I mean, he's not even the best character in his own shonen. I don't even know what you're talking about. He's not even the best character in Naruto, man. Go ahead somewhere with it. What is this silliness? Man, I don't know why y'all got ought to be silly on the stream, man. I don't know what universe he's the best character in anything. But yeah, let's continue.
The bridge on Tequila Wolf.
Yeah,
I think that
that's
you guys
better.
should remember it. After Sabaody, when Kuma sent the strats flying to various places in the world, this is where he sent Robin. A massive bridge that has been under construction for around 700 years by the authority of the Celestial Dragons.
Bruh, 700 years, bro. That's like what the Void Century was about, like 800 years ago around. So it's like right before it pretty much started near the end of the Void Century. So, it's that timing right there.
And still has not been completed. Have you ever wondered why it's in the story? What's its significance? Why is it being built? Where exactly is Oda going with this? So let's first talk about it, and then get into top.
Now I'm gonna say some of the talking points he might make might be outdated, but remember again, this video came out about 2 years ago, right? So came out January 5th, 2020. It is an old. We are reacting to an old theory, you know, because I just wanted to react to something about the Tequila Wolf, and this was probably the newest. This was probably the newest video out there to find. I mean, there might have been other ones, but I didn't really search that long. I just needed something, and you know, Joy Boy. I like Joy Boy's take, so I was like, you know what, can't really go wrong with a Joy Boy's video. Let's continue though.
Topics relating to IMU'S, his very nature, and possibly Oda's grand moral for the story of One Piece. Hey YouTube, Joy Boy here. So, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, this is going to be a very weird discussion. We're going to start off with Tequila Wolf, talk about a little history, economics, politics, logic, and then go to another place entirely. But I do think that they're related. I think that they build off of each other well. But without further ado, let's begin. An important first step I think that we can make here, a relatively obvious but important conclusion based on what we know, this bridge is important to the world government. This is a 700-year undertaking. I think that itself makes it clear that the government has something to gain from it. And the revolutionaries...
Yeah, man, you gotta think, man. Like, cause I would think, cause how I see it, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The Void Century was about 800, between like 800 and 1,000 years ago, right? So, you know, let's just take it as 800. Like, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong about the 800, but let's take that into consideration, right? You got 800. This was being built 700 years ago, so you could say about maybe 100 to about 300 years after the Void Century, depending on the exact point that the Void Century ended, right? So, like, this was definitely a project that they pretty much might have been planning for a good amount of time, right? You got to think about the planning aspect of it, the selling, like, you know, pretty much pitching to the world government why this is a good idea, and then the planning of it, and then, you know, all this other stuff, the gathering the materials, and you know, now I'm not saying that necessarily takes 100 years, but I would say that all that kind of happened within that 100 years, you know, like maybe they thought about it 50 years after the Void Century. Maybe that's when they actually came up with the idea to build this bridge. And then for the next 50 years, maybe it was about planning, finding the best locations, and finding if it's even a logical thing they can do, right? Like, that, can they actually build this bridge? Is all the conditions right for them to be able to build this bridge? Then we got to worry about resources. How are we going to build it? Like, who's going to build it? So we got to get slaves. So that means we got to start kidnapping people or taking people, all these things. Yeah, you know, that could be a good 50 to 100 year undertaking just on the planning alone, right? Just before you get to the point where you actually start the building, you know. I'm not saying it takes 50 years either. Like, this could have literally been, maybe they started looking into this whole thing 90 years after the Void Century. So then you leave 10 years of that 100-year gap. And that 10 years is when they started doing the planning. Like, who knows, right? But why? Like, what was, you know, it's obviously something that was pretty much thought of and put into action not that far after the Void Century. So it was like the world government came into prominence, then they wanted to build this bridge. It was pretty much seemed like it's one of their first big undertakings that they really wanted to put into action. But yeah, let's continue.
As their enemies do not want this bridge completed. I think that this is just an interesting aside, but have you ever taken a moment to actually look at the symbol of the world government? Their actual flag. Some people argue, and I think that I'd be a part of that group, that the bridge in Tequila Wolf, or a massive bridge in general, spanning different islands, crossing the various seas, is actually depicted in this flag. The middle circle represents Mary Joie, or where the celestial dragons are, the center of the world, where each of these other 4 dots on the outside represent each of the 4 seas, the north, south, east, and west blue. Between them, the lines that connect them, is this great bridge. This bridge that they have spent 700 years constructing.
I never actually considered that part, right? Like, cause a lot of times when we look at the world government flag, right, a lot of people come up with crosses, which is very symbolic. Like, I do think there's some symbolism within the world government's Jolly Roger, right? Because it does look like a cross, right? It does. And then there's also the aspect of the 4 rolled poneglyphs pretty much pointing to Laugh Tale, right? Where the 4 circles around are the poneglyphs. And then, they're all pretty much pointing to where Laugh Tale is. Kind of like that as a symbolic. Which there might be a little symbolism in that as well, but there can also be a symbolism in how the purpose of Tequila Wolf to be able to connect all of the blues, right? Because you could look at each of these as a different blue: the north blue, the south blue, the east blue, and the west blue. And then these are bridges that are each connecting to the world government or Mary Joa or whatever, right? So I mean that's a pretty good way. That's a pretty interesting way to look at it, right? Angel's Room said, "I wonder how it's going to play a role in Endgame. LOL. I always just thought it represented the 4 C's. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that it could mean that too, right? And that kind of goes along with, yes, these are 4 C's, but these lines each are kind of bridges, right? Which Tequila Wolf is also a bridge that the world government are using. But yeah, I definitely I agree with you. I agree with you. Angel Rube said, or 5 Grand Line. Yeah. But that will also when you said I wonder how it's going to play a role in the end game, right? The bridges. The question I would pose is, will we even see the end of the construction of the? Would it ever be close? Like, I don't even think it would be close to being finished and fully constructed by the end of the series. Because think about it, the bridge has been being built for the past 700 years, right? The past 700 years, and it's still nowhere near. When we see Robin get sent there, it's still nowhere near being finished, right? So, it might take a couple more 100 years to finish this level of a project. And so, like, yeah, I don't know how we'll ever get closure, because maybe when the world government pretty much get dissolved, maybe this project is just pretty much going to be moot. It's pretty much going to be useless at this point. So I think that might be why they don't really put too much emphasis on Tequila Wolf, because we'll never see it get finished, right? It may come to a point where they'll explain it, right? Where they explain what Tequila Wolf and its importance and why it needs to be stopped, possibly. But I don't think we'll ever see it even be close to finish, Angel's Room said, interesting how they started in the East Blue. You mean Tequila Wolf? Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I think the East Blue is kind of looked at as the lesser of the blues. Like, that's kind of where the poor people are, and I don't know, because I do remember them saying, like, there's usually weaker pirates in the East Blue. Like, early in the series, they said something like that. Like, a lot of the weaker pirates, not many of the strongest people come from the East Blue. I mean, aside from maybe people like, of course, Luffy, the people that we kind of grew with, right? Let's continue.
It isn't even complete, and I believe that it is part of their flag. This is how important it is to them. It's a part of the world government's endgame, how they intend to transform the world. So what exactly does the government gain from this bridge?
So
This world is very
East Blue got the lowest bounties. Yeah, he said something along that. I don't remember exactly what, but yeah.
very divided, and not just politically. It is divided geographically. The red line spans the entire globe as a massive, basically uncrossable barrier. Sure, some groups have managed, notably German kingdom ships can climb the red line, but this is just a single kingdom's ability using technology that, as far as we are aware, they have not shared. Pirates and adventurers can use reverse mountain or sail under the red line through Fishman Island, but both of these paths are incredibly dangerous. Those who the world government allows can pass over the red line at Mary Joie, but in order to do this, you have to make it through the Grand Line, the notoriously difficult to sail sea. And then once you go through Mary Joie to the other side of the red line, you're again in the Grand Line in the New World, which is not a substantially better place to be. For your everyday person, you will never in your entire lifetime cross the red line. And the red line is just one such barrier. You also have the Grand Line itself, which we've already kind of talked about, and the Calm Belt, which run perpendicular to it. Again, it is not...
Bro, I remember when we was in the Logtown arc, right? Or even the Bartier arc, right? I remember how much they just boosted the Grand Line, right? Just entering the Grand Line. Like, most people don't even make it into the Grand Line. And then once you make it into the Grand Line, it's just a hard sea to survive, right? Like, that's how it was built from the beginning. But then it was like, now we're in the New World, and we kind of look at the Grand Line as like, the Grand Line, right? It was tough at times, nothing too crazy. Cube says, Garp did explain it in episode 0. It's an example of justice and peace. Pushing the narrative, it's more about the world government presence. It's not just because it's the weakest sea. Are you talking about the East Blue, or are you talking about Tequila Wolf, the bridge? I'm a little confused. Are you talking about Gart was talking about the East Blue, or okay. Yeah, I guess. Cube said, or Angel's Room said, but didn't they say East Blue has the lowest marine presence because of how weak the marine pirates are, or weak the pirates are? And then Cube said he said that to Shiki when they were fighting. But it was said something about like there being weaker pirates, or just not being producing the strongest people. Like something like that was said. I don't remember exactly, but even if Garp said something about marine presence and justice and all that, you could share what you're talking about, just so I, maybe you are talking about what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just getting it confused. But let's continue.
Impossible to cross these barriers, but it is difficult. The Calm Belt is the breeding ground of the Sea Kings in an area where no wind blows. If you are strong enough to defeat the Sea Kings and have enough manpower to row your ship, you can cross it. I assume this is how it's always been done for the many centuries before this. But the limit here is how strong you actually are. Only the powerful may pass. More recently, however, Dr. Vegapunk found that covering the bottom of your ship in sea stone can allow you to pass undetected by the Sea Kings. But I don't believe that sea stone can be found in such abundance that this is a realistic method of travel for most of the world's people. In addition, Momonga tells us that there are significant limitations, because while sea stone can allow you to pass the Sea Kings, it's not 100% effective because the Sea Kings can still see you. So you still need to be powerful. And again, even if you make it through the Calm Belt once, you have then entered the Grand Line in its crazy weather and the potential of being attacked by pirates. Then you have to pass through the Calm Belt again. In this world, travel between the blues is just not feasible for the vast majority. This, I believe, is one of the reasons the Celestial Dragons are building this bridge, and I would wager the reason that they would be using to justify it to the people of the world. Trade and travel is generally good. What if there was a plant or a medicine that could only be created in, say, the South Blue, for a persistent illness in the North Blue, or a great famine across a large portion of a particular sea, or a particular natural resource that would be important elsewhere? And this additionally could help the world prosper. Merchants in the West Blue can now relatively easily sell their products to those in all the other blues. However, you gotta keep this in mind, we are talking about the world government and the Celestial Dragons. It is very doubtful.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, I don't even think like they would necessarily, like them bridges, like the bridges, they probably won't even be free to travel on, right? Like you probably would have to pay some type of tax, some type of fee or something just to be able to travel on it, right? So, or they're just gonna make it exclusive for like world government business. But I don't think it's something that's gonna be just easily accessible for people to use, right? Like I think it's gonna be something you're gonna have to pay for, or you're gonna have to be in a position where some business that the world government allows you to do business by traveling in. But I don't think being some normal everyday citizen, you could just travel on these bridges. I don't think they would allow that. Angel's Room said Mihawk said East Blue we could see in chapter 51. And then Cube said that was 24 years ago, so makes sense that they cleaned up the East Blue by Luffy's time. Not saying that's the only reason, but there's also a cause why they so few greats from East Blue. Yeah, we get it. Like, of course, it might be a cause, and I'm not saying just because you're like we're not saying that just because you're born in the East Blue, you're just gonna be weak. Most likely, I don't think that's the case, but it was just said that a lot of weaker people come from the East. Like the East Blue isn't really known for its strength. Now, and of course, there's a cause and effect to everything, but we're just talking about the effect. You're talking about the cause. We're just talking about the result, right? But let's continue.
Doubtful that this bridge is some kind of charity to the people. The world nobles absolutely have something to gain for themselves. They would own this bridge. Sure, other people may get to use it if they are allowed, but the people controlling it would be the Celestial Dragons, the world nobles. Here's a hypothetical for you. Assuming you were a kind of merchant, and you could travel to the other blues via methods we previously discussed and sell your goods. What does the world government and the Celestial Dragons gain from this? Nothing. Nothing at all. They can't tax travel across the sea. But if you travel across their bridge, they could charge you for the convenience. Sure, you can use our bridge, but there will be a toll. This is how the powerful...
Gotta pay the troll toll, baby. The troll toll. I don't know if y'all gonna get that, but I ain't gonna explain. Just know Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That show. It's the troll toll, baby. But yeah, that makes sense though, right? Like you tax people for using your bridge for business purposes, So I don't think it's gonna be something accessible to people just to go see their cousin over in the West Blue when they live in the North Blue. I don't think it's gonna be something used to that extent. It's gonna be something that the world government is going to use in order to pretty much make more money and get what they get, tax people, right? Angel's Room said, why would someone walk on a bridge when they get on a ship and get there faster? I mean, you gotta look at it like this. I see what you mean, but you gotta look at it like this. First off, most people might not have access to ships, right? Like most people have access to ships, and even if you do have a ship, right? Let's say if you're trying to go from the North Blue to the South Blue, you still have to get through the Grand Line, the Calm Belt, the Grand Line, and yeah, you gotta get past the Grand Line, or you gotta get past the Red Line, one or the other. But either way, it's a there's going to be some blockage that's not going to be so easy to get past, right? Like even if you try to go through the Grand Line on some normal shit, that's dangerous, So it's just a matter of accessibility to get into the other seas, Just doing that on a ship and you're just to go trade, it might be faster in some sense, but it's also way more damage and way more obstacle, right? It's way more obstacle give from one blue to the next blue, you know. So if you got these bridges that bypass these obstacles, plus they might also be a lot safer because you might be able to avoid a lot of pirates on the seas, unless these pirates try to climb the bridge or something, which they probably do that, yeah. But that's probably going to do a lot, and that's not even saying if the world government patrols these bridges, right? Like they might have patrols to pretty much act as security. So logically, this might be the safest way of getting from one blue to the next blue, But I get what you're saying. It might be faster on a ship, but it's also more danger to it. But yeah, let's continue. Or you said Angel Room said the weather conditions are gonna a lot worse on the bridge than on a ship. I mean the weather conditions, but as long as the bridge is sturdy, right? And I mean, but look. Here's what I was saying, because you're just looking at weather conditions. I'm talking about the fact that you got to get past, you got to get past the calm belt. So now you're talking about you got to get past safely, or you got to get safely past a patch of sea with a bunch of sea kings. And if you on some normal everyday ship, they might not have the same sea coat the coating that the Navy have, right? And then you gotta get past the Grand Line, which is going to be super dangerous by weather and everything. And then you gotta get past the Calm Belt again, or you gotta get past the Grand Line and one that. And I think if you're going from like the north to east or something, I can't remember. So at least with the bridge, all you really might have to worry about is some bad weather every once in a while, right? Yeah, exactly. Cube said, "Don't worry, that will be solved." They'll probably have like a solution to it somehow. I don't know. Maybe build like a barrier over the bridge so the weather don't really affect the bridge or something. I don't know. That can be solved though. That can be solved. But let's continue.
Become even more so by controlling a necessity. If you're looking for a historical equivalent for this, read up on how the Vanderbilt family became the richest in the United States with a monopoly over railway travel in the 1800s. But it's actually even more concerning than this. The world noble
Andrew's Room said they don't got to go past the Calm Belt. You talking about they don't got to go past the Calm Belt. They don't got to go past the Calm. What is you talking about, man? All right, so it's pretty much a map that kind of shows. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hold on, let me try to blow it up real quick. Cause you saying they don't gotta go past the Calm Belt. I don't. All right, cool. That's better. So you should be able to see that. So north to east blue, right? To get to the north blue to the east blue, you gotta get past the red line. You gotta get past the red line. So somehow you gotta go. You gotta be able to take the ship that you're traveling in. The ship that you're traveling in, because if you want to go from North Blue to the East Blue, or from the West Blue to the South Blue, you got to take that ship that you're traveling in, and you got to go past. You got to get over the red line, right? Same with the West to the South. Now, if you want to go from North to West, you gotta you gotta get past the Grand Line. So that means you gotta get past the Calm Belt first into the Grand Line. Then you gotta pretty much pass the Grand Line. Then you gotta get past the Calm Belt again, and then you're in the West Blue. Same with the East to the South Blue. Now, if you thinking about like if you want to talk about like going through Reverse Mountain, that's a whole nother obstacle right there. That's a whole nother obstacle. Now you gotta safely get past Reverse Mountain, right? And get past Reverse Mountain and Laboon. So who you could crash to, who you could crash into. Versus if maybe we create some bridges that just go past it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, it might be a little, it might take longer, but you know, you gotta get what you mean you don't gotta go past the Calm Belt. Q said usually those kind of issues are quickly solved in OP. I mean, you remember how Luffy and the crew went to Skypiea. This should have an easy solution. That's easy. I mean, maybe like make something that lifts you up, like hot air balloon boats or whatever. You know, that could be a solution. Angel Room said they can just go through you can't just go through the red line. How do you go through the red line with a boat? That's why in order to go past the red line, you have to go to Sabaody, and then you gotta pretty much go to Fishman Island. You know, like that's why you gotta pretty much get your ship coated in to go under, right? To go under. Let's see. Q said the red line is controlled by the world government. And Angel said there's an interest to every ship on the red line. You're gonna have to show me where that is. Cube said there's a reason why Lunarians God used to live there. Angel Room said the world government controlled the other side of the red line. And then Cube said, I don't think it's that easy to go through the red line. It's not, bro. It's not that easy. Because, you know, the world government can get you over the red line, but it's like you got to have business with the world government. You know what I'm saying? I don't. And then he says, Angel Room said, bro, only the strongest people were able to walk on the bridge. And then you said Reverse Mountain. Bro, Reverse Mountain is dangerous. It's dangerous. I already said Reverse Mountain. It's dangerous. Like you remember how they pretty much built the Grand Line, and they pretty much said they pretty much hyped up how dangerous it is just getting into the Grand Line. So you're telling me some merchants, right? People who their only thing is to just trade some goods, right? You think they should go through Reverse Mountain? And then how do you get back out of, like, has it even been explained how you get out of the Grand Line? Because it's always been talked about going in, but Reverse Mountain only gets you into the Grand Line. It doesn't get you out of it, not that I remember. You know? I don't remember how you exit the Grand Line, but, I mean, it has to be a way. I just don't know. Angel's Room said, I'm sorry, the red line and Reverse Mountain as the same thing. Then Q said, the issue is that there's a reason why they're building the bridge. We just don't have the info yet. And then Angel's Room said, no, imagine walking on a bridge with those weather conditions. Now, you can get out through Reverse Mountain. I don't think you can. I think it only goes inward. because the current is only it's a one-way current. Like we seen, it was never like a opposite way current. And even if you can get out through reverse mountain, it's still very dangerous. I feel as though that's kind of the key thing you're kind of forgetting. Like many people try to get in the Grand Line, and their journey pretty much stopped at Grand Line or at Reverse Mountain. You know, just imagine having to crash the lagoon just to trade some salt or something. Just imagine crashing in the lagoon just because you wanted to trade some salt. You know. But yeah, let's continue.
Decide who can cross their bridge or not. They decide who is successful and who is not. Anyone in the world who would want to compete on the free market across the globe would have to be in the Celestial Dragon's good graces. We already know that the members of the world government are forced to pay.
Angel's Room said Don Krieg left through Reverse Mountain. Good point. Good point. I mean, I don't know how, because again, like it was never explained the exit. I'm gonna look it up, man. We're gonna look it up because maybe there is an explanation. But again, it still doesn't change how dangerous. It doesn't change the danger. I'm talking about for like just normal trade type ships. You know, like pirates, they navigate. You know, like we got some strong. You know, like you're gonna need some strong individuals, pretty much some strong traders, right? With some A1 helmsman.
A heavenly tribute, it's called, money and treasure, directly to the world nobles for the defense they provide. Well, now, potentially, if you aren't paying as much as someone else, they could hypothetically deny you access to this bridge and ruin your business or your entire country's economy, especially if an entire country's economy becomes reliant on this bridge. What you would eventually be left with probably is a very corrupted system. Those who play by the Celestial Dragon's rules get to stay powerful, while those who don't will be destroyed. While the system that is currently in place isn't ideal, at least the Celestial Dragons do not control the sea itself. You can trade within your blue and neighboring islands without being taxed or restricted by the world government specifically or the Celestial Dragons for it. This bridge would absolutely work to help the Celestial Dragons continue to rule the world for the foreseeable future. And in many ways, they wouldn't have to worry so much about pirates either, since the routes would be easily defendable. Without any oversight, the ones who control this bridge would have far too much power to dictate the entire world's economy. But this isn't the only benefit for the world government.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like he said, that control, right? You have control over what's going on, and people, like if people want to use the normal ocean, the normal seas to pretty much travel, they're going to be at risk from pirates, right? From pirates attacking their ships. Versus you could either take the risk, and it might be to a point where it might be illegal to travel the seas. Like anybody caught traveling the seas are going to be deemed a pirate, and pretty much attacked and possibly killed. So even if you're trading, if you're not using a bridge like the law states, you will pretty much be looked at as a pirate and like automatically on site pretty much attacked, right? So, that's another thing. It's that control. Like if we control the exports and imports and the people going back and forth trading, not only do we control commerce where we could tax, we'll keep the seas free, and anybody on the sea is going to be deemed a pirate where we'll just attack, and we don't have to worry about attacking innocent people, because if they're innocent, they shouldn't be on the seas anyway, right? So that's kind of the logic. Like, hey, if we see you on the sea, we deem you as a lawbreaker. So, because it's illegal to be traveling the seas, so use the bridges. And like he said, war, right? War. That's probably the biggest. That's probably the biggest benefit. I could see just this you got this highway where you could move certain weapons and certain types of weapons that maybe some weapons that might be too big to transport on a ship. You can do that on the bridge, or they might be too heavy to transport on a ship. You know, so it's an easy way to transport all your logistics and everything, all your supplies and these things. Angel's Room said, "Dude, this bridge is going to be as long as a Snake Way. Would you rather walk through Snake Way or go through Reverse Mountain?" Man, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Reverse Mountain, because I feel as though Snake Way, you'll probably eventually die from hunger, right? That'd be a slow death. At least with Reverse Mountain, it's all quick. So if I die, is quick. If I don't die, I get to my location a lot quicker. So Snake Way, I'll probably die before I'll probably starve to death before I make it all the way through Snake Way. For real. Angel's Room said you got to worry about food, water, and clothing for possible bad weather. Well, I don't think you could have stops, right? You could probably even have people selling stuff on the bridge. Kind of like a marketing, like a market, right? Like maybe have like little villages or little ports, right? You have these little towns on these bridges, and so I don't think that's be a problem. I don't think that's a problem. The weather could be, again, all these things could have solutions. I get the problems you bringing up, but there's solutions to those. I don't see them as big as a problem as you see them. But yeah, let's continue.
The bridge of Tequila Wolf is likely inspired by the Burma Railway built in Southeast Asia by the Empire of Japan during World War II. This railway was built by civilian laborers and prisoners of war who were essentially forced into its construction. But I don't want to get this twisted. The people who built this railway were essentially slaves. Over the course of the year of its construction, over 100...
Oh yeah, Angel's Room, I disagree. I don't see it as Snake Way, because Snake Way, it's literally just an endless road, right? This, again, you can have little ports, right? You can have ports to where it's like little towns or something, because it's a big bridge, man. And you gotta understand, it was already a lot of people living on these bridges, building it, right? Living on this bridge, building it. So who's to say they don't have little communities on certain stops on this bridge?
1,000 people died, giving it the name the Death Railway. So the context here is somewhat important. During World War II, the Japanese relied upon using the sea to bring supplies and troops to Burma where they were fighting. However, the problem with this was that the only reasonable route they could take was notoriously hazardous. So for our One Piece comparison here, the Empire of Japan didn't want to cross over the Red Line or the Grand Line. Looking for alternatives, they began construction on this railway, which would pass directly through the land.
Angel's Room says Snake Way is 625,000 miles. I get that, but it's still, there's nobody on Snake Way. There's no way to get food. There's no way to get water. You'll eventually die. The bridge, on the other hand, you can create little ports, like little posts, little outposts every so far on this bridge to where people could rest, people can eat, people can drink. You have food and drink at these posts. So, it wouldn't be the same conditions. I mean, okay, other than the weather. The weather of Snake Way would probably be way nicer than being on this bridge. But it was, you could you could solve the problem of food, water, shelter, sleep, all these things. You could solve that problem. As with Snake Way, you can't. You know. Um, we got Desness. He's in the Desness in the building. He said, "Hey, what's up, fellow pirates? Wanted to say hi and go off again. Like and subscribe. Have a nice stream." Shout out to Desness. I guess he got a new channel or he changed his channel name. Angel's Room said if One Piece going to have a bridge that connects 20 million, it's going to be way longer than that. I don't get it though. I don't get what your point is. You're stuck on the miles. I'm not concerned with the miles. The miles are the miles, man. The miles are the miles. It's still not an equal situation. Snake Way is pretty much barren. It's a barren area, and the fact that Goku is dead and it's kind of an afterlife thing, you don't have to worry about that, you know. But still, it's barren. So I can see if you was going down Snake Way and you wasn't dead, you was alive, and you needed food and water. No, I wouldn't want to go down Snake Way. But again, the bridges would be completely different. It would be different situations. Yes, it's still far, it's still long. I get that. I still get that. I get that. I get that. It's long. It's long. It's a lot of miles. It's a lot of miles. We get that. We get that. We get that, Angels Room. We get that. But yeah, Q said, "What if you need Uranus? I mean, Uranus might be climate based." Yeah, but I don't think the world government really does. I don't think the weather is really much of a concern to the world government. I mean, as far as as far as for protecting the bridge, that would be a concern. But trying to control the weather, I don't really think that's the concern. Um, Angel's Room said, "How are those people running those stands going to survive and get food?" There will be people bringing them food. There will be, again, the things with how commerce works is, yes, I am taking this a certain place, but there might be certain people whose job is to pretty much bring food to these port towns. Little thought, man. It's a little thought, bro. It's a little thought. Cube says, since Uranus never did it thing, the bridge was left under construction. Since Uranus never did it things, the bridge was left under construction. I'm not sure what you're saying. Angel's Room said, "Bro, do you know how long it would take for those people to get food?" Man, you just. Let's continue.
By the time that the railway was completed, it required nearly 600 bridges. I don't know if many of you out there have heard of the
Cube said, "I think this debate is redundant since we still haven't finished the video." That's what I'm saying. It's getting redundant at this point.
famous classical film or book, The Bridge on the River Kwai, but that was what that was about. And I assume this is where Oda found his inspiration for Tequila Wolf. And so I think through this, we can perhaps uncover the world government's true plan for the bridge at Tequila Wolf. Warfare. This is just one of those interesting things about the world over the past 900 years. The world government started off as just 20 kings. From there they grew, of course, but even to this day, they do not control the entire world. And even beyond that, they have some difficulty protecting and controlling what they already do have. In my opinion, this may in fact be the primary purpose of the Tequila Wolf Bridge, a highway for soldiers to cross in order to conquer and control the world militarily. Of course, you find Marines all across the world, but I think that there's some significance to Oda specifically placing the center of power in Marineford and New Marineford directly where the Celestial Dragons and Mary Joie is. One of the most difficult things about having a very large army is being able to supply them. And right now, geographical barriers severely limit what the world government can achieve. Take the former German kingdom and the North Blue as an example. If the world government wanted to fight them and actually defeat them, then they would have to send a whole lot of troops to the North Blue. But you have to keep in mind that the actual countries, the land there, is controlled by Germany. How exactly is the world government to supply their troops to a level that could actually sustain such a large conflict? And frankly, before the bridge is complete, it would be difficult to even get a foothold in the North Blue to begin with. But of course, Germany is no longer a threat. Where I think that this would be most significant is if there was some kind of revolution, if a blue tried to break off from the world government. Under those circumstances, I think that would be a very difficult war for the world government to be able to fight, to be able to maintain their power. But with this massive bridge, they would have a foothold in every sea, and already built, highly defendable supply and troop lines. In my mind, this bridge, once completed, is kind of like the final nail in the coffin of being able to overthrow the world government. I just think that it's interesting to think about this bridge.
And to answer your question, Angel's Room, how would they feed people? I don't know. How do they continuously feed the slaves and the people overseeing the slaves that are building this bridge? They're obviously able to bring food to them, so there's some way to get food to the middle of wherever the bridge is being constructed. So if that's the case, maybe there's some way to get food to little bridge towns or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, anyway. Angel's Room said the bridge is not for some money scheme. I didn't say it was. Q said I think this debate is redundant. Oh yeah, we already went through that. Angel's Room said they already have all the money in the world. I never said it was a money scheme. I said it could serve multiple reasons. Taxing people who are doing trade is one of them. Again, I've stated these things. And then Q said, we know Joy Boy apologized to Fishman Island for not keeping his word. Maybe a similar thing happened over there. Angel's Room said it only in one are right now though. It only in one area. It's only in one area right now though. But they still get food. You said how do they get food to people, right? How do they get food to people, to these little communities or whatever? The same way they get food to their slaves wherever they're at in the location of their construction. The same way. So if they're building, if they built 20 miles or 20,000 miles from wherever they started, they got food there somehow. And eventually they get even further and they're still able to bring food out there. We got DSXL Gaming in the building. Shout out to DSXL Gaming. He said for real, like common sense. I'm just saying a lot of these questions, a lot of these rebuttals you're giving me can be solved. That's all I'm saying. They can be solved. They're not as big of a deal as you're really forcing them to be, I guess. Angel's Room said it's only in the East Blue right now. I didn't say it wasn't. I'm saying wherever they're at in the point of the construction, right? Let me see. Shout out to DCXL Gaming for the subscription. Hey man, I appreciate it, man. Shout out to DCLX Gaming. But yeah, so but yeah, man, it's getting common. Let's continue.
What I deduced to be its purpose and the world government and world nobles' long-standing ambitions. It really didn't take long, a couple hundred years? And they already conceived a way to practically guarantee control of this world for the thousands of years to follow. Control trade and travel while building a military highway to reach every corner of the world. So we're about to switch gears here pretty drastically, and I think a lot of you may not know how we go from where we are now to where we are going to go. But in my mind, jumping off from where we are now is a perfect place to talk about control and talk about freedom, because the concepts go hand in hand. The more control someone has over you, the less freedom you have. So for me, explaining it the way that we have, this bridge embodies control and the world government's desire for it. But anyway, guys, let's press forward and talk about black and white. I think that it's pretty easy to think of the Marines as a kind of villain in the story, a kind of rot in this world that needs to be removed. But I'm not entirely sure. I think that the Marines as an idea, as an organization, is very positive. They are in many cases the world's law enforcement. They protect civilians. After the story ends, I expect that they will still exist. The world, I believe, is better with them than without. For every Akainu or Axe Hand Morgan, there's a Kobe, or there's a Smoker, or there's a Garp. And even more than that, I don't think that the idea of a world government is that bad either. The issue is those who abuse power to their own advantage. And
yeah, I agree. I don't think the world government in itself is a bad thing. It's just the world government that we see in the story. They tend to do some bad things, right? And that's kind of where I believe that it will come to a point where you're going to have two factions in the world government, right? Maybe like Sword and like the, like the traditional world or Marines, right? Well, not in the world government, but at least in the Marines, right? You got Sword and then you got the traditional Marines. And I could see some of the Marines possibly, like the people, the traditional Marines possibly going over to the other side, the sword side, right? Because Sword is probably a small organization in itself, but there's probably a lot of people in the Marines that kind of might believe differently than a lot of, like, they might have a different definition of justice than a lot of other Marines, right? Like Marines who just follow the orders and they just do it what they're told. You might have the Marines that they want to do good to the people, right? And that might be more of the sword faction, right? The ones who want to do right for the citizens of the world that they protect and everything. And then you got the Marines who are still loyal to the Gorosei and the world government pretty much. So, but yeah, so I could see at the end of the story something along the line happening to where the new Marines come around, the new world government, right? Like the world government that have better intentions for the people, right? And that could be headed by people like Vivi and maybe like Shirahoshi and some of the Fishman royalty, maybe what's the name from Dressrosa, the king? I want to say King Riku, but I think King Riku. You got King Cobra and King Riku. So yeah, something along that line, right? Like you could take some people like those, and they can be in charge of the world government, or they can at least lead until they get like a quality leader that's going to actually be a good leader for the world government. Not Luffy, because Luffy just want to be free, right? You can't put him in that position. That ties him down. So, and then you got the Marines, right? You got people like Smoker and Kobe in like high positions in the Marines. Like maybe have Smoker as the fleet admiral, and then Kobe be one of the admirals, right? Something along that line. Q said, got early work in the morning. We'll catch the rest tomorrow. Have a great one, guys. Shout out to Q, man. Shout out to Q. You have a good one, man. You have a good one. But let's continue.
Others suffering. The problem is that individuals, celestial dragons, rule over the collective that we call the world government. So perhaps you could argue here that the true enemy is individuality, humanity. Heroes and villains exist everywhere. We like to put the celestial dragons into a box, but we saw an example of Otohime saving a celestial dragon, and it changed him. It made him into a better person. One Piece is just
Man, that was some bars right there. But like that's like real, right? That's like it's not necessarily like organizations that are bad. You know, like we got our own government, right? The American government. Well, over here in the West, right? In US, we got the American government. You know, there's some people who try to do good, you know, or has good intentions. But then there's people who don't, you know, so it's an individual thing.
filled with great characters and uncertainty. I think time and time again we try to make this black and white, and at every turn, Oda makes that impossible to do. I very much doubt that one single organization or group has it right. There is not a single organization in One Piece that is purely filled with black or white characters. Not one. And even the blackest of characters, the enemies, the villains, they're a dark shade of gray. And so far, most everybody has had a chance to be redeemed. But it's just interesting to think about. Perhaps the most difficult obstacle in defeating the world nobles is everybody that surrounds them. To get to them, how many innocent lives would you have to take? There are many noble people who fight for the celestial dragons. This is one of the more difficult questions, I think, in life, right? We all want to avoid war, we want to avoid suffering, but when exactly does it become imperative to start a war? Who or what are we actually fighting, and how is it even possible to defeat them?
Emu and freedom.
But you know, it's topics like this that make me think about Imu. This whole time I've said, the celestial dragons are to blame, but are they really? Do they hold any real power? Probably not. They might be the face of this evil, of this darkness, but likely they are not the evil itself. Imu pulls the strings, he sits on the throne. What does he want? How does he plan to get what he wants? And for him, what role does everybody else play? Based on what we know right now, I think that it's hard to exclusively define Imu as evil. Just another gray character. On one hand, he says that he's going to extinguish a light. But on the other hand, he appears to be wise and thoughtful. We see him delicately touch a butterfly in a way which I think Oda's trying to convey gentleness. It doesn't appear like he's murdering, who he wants when he wants. He takes time to think through what he wants to do. He's very careful. In the couple of panels that we saw him, ignoring bias, it appears as though Imu could be more complex than I think many people in the fandom consider him to be. What is his true nature? Every fight the Straw Hats...
Bruh, we've talked about this, man. Like, we talked about this in the recent streams, right? Like, the possibility that Eam could be, like, some tragic character, right? Like, maybe Eam was kind of forced into this position, right? Because when we look at a lot of characters, like a lot of time, freedom is the core of people's happiness, the ability to be able to go anywhere and see. Like, we look at somebody like Luffy, his whole objective is to be free. Blackbeard kind of has he wants his own idea of freedom as well, even though it may not be freedom for others. He still want a lot of freedom, at least for himself. Look at Yamato. She wants to be away from Kaido, get off of the island and be free, go travel. Odin, same thing. So when we look at how freedom is probably one of the biggest themes in the series, you look at somebody like right? Imu, who is probably one of the least freest people, right? Like, as much power as has, Eam's really not that free when you look at it, right? Like, nobody is aware of Eam, so Eam pretty much hides all the time. Like, cause Eam has to stay secret for the most part. And the fact that he has to stay secret, that means he can't just freely go out and let people see him, so that's a very secluded life, which is almost like he's a prisoner of his own construct, right? So that kind of shows that maybe he didn't want to this position, but maybe it was something that was kind of forced upon him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like he kind of had to take it. So let's continue.
have ever had has had a narrative purpose, and I believe all of the fighting will culminate with Oda delving into concept he has spent the entire series hinting at. Time and again, Luffy exclaims that he wishes to be the Pirate King. But that's not it. As he explained to Rayleigh, the Pirate King is just the most free person on the sea. Being the Pirate King to Luffy means more than just being king of the pirates. It means being the freest. So first and foremost, what is important to Luffy is that Luffy wants freedom. For himself, and I believe also for others. He wants to live his life the way that he chooses. We talked earlier about the world government's desire for control. This and Luffy's mentality cannot coexist. As Goldie Rogers says, inherited will, destiny of the age, and the dreams of the people. These are things that will not be stopped. As long as people continue to pursue the meaning of freedom, these things will never cease to be. This just feels like something that would be a climactic theme in One Piece. What is the meaning of freedom? As long as people continue to pursue the meaning of freedom, inherited will, destiny, and the dreams of the people will never cease to be. I think that this is one of the integral questions One Piece poses. What is freedom? How can it be achieved? And what kind of world is that like? Freedom is not an inherently good thing. Sure, Luffy wants to be free, sail around and protect his friends and adventure, but what if someone wished for the freedom to murder and kill? Freedom can be good or bad, depending on who uses it. Freedom really, for me, is merely the absence of restriction, thus leaving you with your own impulses or whatever impulses an individual would have.
Pretty much though, man. Freedom, believe me, most people, freedom is not, doesn't benefit most people, man. Like freedom is kind of, a lot of people really fear true freedom. A lot of people like to want to be free. They like this idea of being free from things. But all in all, a lot of people, no, you don't want freedom because again, like true freedom, like kind of what he said that no restrictions. It's a double-edged sword. Like yes, sure, it gives you the ability to do whatever you want, but again, it gives you the ability to do whatever you want. It also gives other people the ability to do whatever they want. So depending on what type of person you're dealing with and the fact you take any restrictions away from them and they could do whatever they want, that could be scary right there. That could be scary for some people. Let's continue.
Some are good and some are bad. It is not black or white, it's very gray. Now assuming Imu is truly gentle and kind and thoughtful, I wonder whether or not Imu interprets freedom to be a bad thing. If he is this person that perhaps we can imply him to be, but at the same time, control the world in the way that he does. In some ways, this could potentially be similar to Oda's commentary about Big Mom, but taken to an entirely other level. Big Mom wants to do good. She has a vision for the future of the world as being peaceful and everybody getting along, but nobody will listen to her, and when they don't, she forces them to follow her rule. She restricts others' freedom for the sake of what she thinks is best, and sometimes for her own immature reasons. Perhaps Imu is like this, but in a much more direct way, like he actually knows what he is doing. Perhaps he seeks the future of the world government's total control for the sake of the people's, everybody's well-being. Perhaps he believes freedom can be good, but too often it is not. See what happens when you allow people to be free. They step on each other. They harm each other. In this way, as the architect of the world government, perhaps the world government's desire for control is somewhat understandable. Maybe for Imu, he sees the celestial dragons as a kind of means to an end, a necessary evil to create the world he desires. Even the Goro say Imu's direct underlings, evil incarnation at times, they gave me the impression early on that they didn't want to harm Ohara. They have a heart. It gives me the impression that they are doing what they feel is necessary. What is this story really about? But just as freedom can be either good or bad, I think restricting it is the same. To me, this is really interesting. We assume that the hero must stand for everything that is good. But is Luffy's ideals what the world should actually strive for? A blatant disregard for rules and laws that...
Bro, man, that just like what he said about like Luffy's idea of freedom. Is it really the best thing for the world? it reminds me so much of the couple chapters ago, right, in the manga where we see Momonosuke pretty much debating with Yamato, like is opening the borders, pretty much taking down the restrictions, and making Wano a more freer country, freely accessible for outsiders to come in, freely accessible for people to leave, right? Knocking down this restriction, is it necessarily the best thing for Wino? Is destroying the borders the best thing for Wino? And he said, like, look, part of the reason why we're in the situation is because the outsiders coming into Wano anyway. So should I destroy the borders and allow outsiders to come in and be able to cause trouble in Wano? And that's kind of the same way he's talking about with Luffy, right? Like Luffy's idea of freedom. It could be a double-edged sword, right? It's great. It's great in theory, but it could also cause so much bad, right? And that could be what Eam fears, Angel's Room said, I like his take on Emu. Yeah. It's a good one, man. Like, again, I feel as though maybe Emu is more of a tragedy, right? Maybe at least his backstory, right? How he got to this point. Like, maybe it wasn't him wanting to. Maybe he wasn't some power hungry tyrant, right? Maybe it was like because we talked about a theory, right? We were just kind of just joking around, creating theories on the fly, freestyling theories, and me and Best Jen talked about how maybe Emu and Joy Boy knew each other, right? Maybe they knew each other. Maybe they were brothers. I think Best Jen kind of brought this up, right? I think this is kind of part of a theory he was talking about he was doing. And it's like, I kind of I thought it was very interesting. Maybe Joy Boy had his vision of the world, but he's seen the negatives of the world that Joy Boy was championing, right? He's seen it. Like, he agreed with it at first, possibly, but maybe he's seen the errors of it, and he believed that people having too much freedom is a bad thing. It could be a negative thing, and maybe he didn't want to kill Joy Boy. Maybe he had to, and it hurt, and then he just kind of took on the position as the person who's going to carry the burden of the world and make the hard decisions and even be hated to a degree if he has to. But Angel's Room said he probably saw the bad side of Joy Boy's freedom. I like that idea. Yeah, and maybe he didn't want to be the king of the world and have to subjugate people, but he believed that people just, he's seen people as kids to a degree, right? Maybe he looked at them as kids that if you just let kids do whatever they want, they eventually hurt themselves. So, and that's how he's seen people, normal people. Like, you leave them up to their own vices, eventually, they're going to hurt each other, hurt themselves. So he could not allow that, so he took that position. And maybe he got immortality out of it, right? Maybe the immortal part was the burden he had to bear because he had to continuously hold that position. I don't know. But let's continue.
Exists for the purpose of everyone's well-being and their protection? I understand that the world is currently corrupted, but what if it wasn't? Where does Luffy actually draw the line? And is this place where Oda deems the best balance lies? You gotta keep in mind that this is a story about pirates. Is a world ruled by and led by pirates really the best version of this world? What do the heroes really need to do in order to fix this? I think the same could be applied to the government. How much should you resist freedom? How far is too far? How much is not enough? I'm not entirely sure this question has an answer, but if I were to guess, the truth lies somewhere.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, what if like, I guess like I don't know if that's a mask, right? Like, I just kind of assume, I think most of us kind of assume that it's like Eam wearing the mask. 'Cause that could genuinely just be his face, right? That could be, but maybe it's like he's like King or something, right? Or maybe he takes off the mask and is really Mihawk. What if it's really Mihawk under that mask? That'd be wild. Uh, Angel's Room said, doesn't Luffy agree on the idea that some people need guidance with their freedom? Uh, I don't remember ever seeing Luffy say anything of that sort. So I couldn't say yeah or no. You know, I never seen Luffy as someone to tell anybody what to do though. I don't think he said that. I don't think that's the case for him. Cause I never seen Luffy as somebody who wants to try to guide people on what they should do, right? Like in some cases he do, like let's say like with Vivi and Alabasta when she was crying because she didn't want to risk people's lives and all that, and then Luffy was kind of like, look, you know, in that case he guided her in a way not to tell her what to do. He was just like, look, you know, stop being stupid, you know, like you can't want to make a change and fight. So he was kind of like advising her, but I wouldn't say he really guided her. So, you know, and I don't really remember a time where like Luffy tried to guide anybody, you know, like he's always there to help, but you know, he's not there to try to tell you how you should do something, you know. You know, he might tell you what you're doing wrong. You know what I mean? But I don't know if that's ever been the thing though. You said he literally beat some people up for doing the wrong thing, like Bellamy. I mean, again, yeah, like it's like if he doesn't like what you're doing, he's going to step in. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going to step. Like you're hurting people, he's going to step in. So you know, if that's what you mean by guidance, maybe I guess you know, I guess that you could say that, you know. But you know, as when I look at guidance, I kind of look at like you trying to pretty much, you know, get people to do the right thing. But in a way, beating people up for doing wrong is kind of like pushing them to do right, you know. So I guess you could say that, you know. I guess you could say that. Let's continue. Let's wrap this up.
Somewhere in the middle. It typically does. Given the option between complete anarchy and a dictator, I think I'd prefer not to choose. I think that would make for a unique ending to One Piece. Even after Luffy saves the world, I mean, he's still a criminal by nature. Even if he's a kind-hearted, relatively harmless criminal. I'm telling you right now, Luffy would never pay taxes, not in any universe. Perhaps he's what the world needs, but not entirely what it needs to become. To me, it's almost as if Oda is saying that as long as people have a will of their own, dream for the future and have a role to play in the present, freedom and the pursuit of it cannot be suppressed. Human nature will prevail. These things will never cease to be. Perhaps a fitting moral of a story about pirates. People's dreams never end. Perhaps there is more to this quote than meets the eye. The more that you try to control people, the more that you find that the task itself is impossible, even if you were to have good intentions. And how far exactly should anybody be willing to go in order to suppress an individual's freedom for the betterment of everybody else? At what point will people, as their nature, push back? And at the same time, is this kind of mentality sometimes what the world needs in order to overcome injustice? So we began this video talking about Tequila Wolf, and what it represents to me now, after we've had this conversation, is Tequila Wolf represents complete control, a vision of supremacy. Perhaps Oda's moral here, perhaps Oda's point, his lesson, is that it doesn't matter for what reason that you want to control others. They will always fight for freedom. They will always fight for the opportunity to choose for themselves.
Alright, so
But anyway, guys, I understand that parts of this video are...
shout out to Joy Boy Theories. I'm gonna give the boy a like because, you know, of course, I gotta show love to Joy Boy, man. That's my guy right there. That's my guy. Alright, so yeah, so again, Angel's Room said, "Would you rather live in a dictatorship or anarchy?" Uh, Probably anarchy if I had to choose. Like if we talking about the worst of each, like the worst dictatorships versus the worst anarchy, I feel as though with anarchy, cause I have this idea of anarchy, right? At the end of the day, anarchy's always kind of create some form of organization, right? It's like a cycle. Like if you have something with a dictatorship, eventually it could get to a point where anarchy is created. Like maybe people overthrow the government because they were just too much, and then you get a state of anarchy, and then eventually order comes from it. So if I had to choose, I would say anarchy because I don't know. I'm a type. I don't like being controlled. I won't lie to you. I'm not. I've always kind of been a bit of an anarchist in the way I think. So I would probably say anarchy. It'd be tough though. Don't get me wrong, because it would be hella dangerous. But a dictatorship could be just as dangerous. And with a dictatorship, it could even be harder because, like, let's say anarchy, you could do whatever you want. So you could pretty much get your hands. You could build your own protection. So you could get the ability to somehow protect yourself a lot better than if you was in a dictatorship of a government that didn't allow you access to weapons. They pretty much didn't allow you any access to anything that where you could actually protect yourself, right? So, or at least an anarchist, like being an anarchy, I feel as though you can find means to protect yourself a lot more. Where a dictatorship, you're more at the whim of your leader, right? So if he wants to up and just decide to kill everybody or kill half his citizens, he could do that, and you would probably not be able to do anything about it if you were selected, right? Uh, um, Good question, but my answer would have to be a dictatorship because at least there would be some rules. Yeah, I get it. He said, "Thank God I live in the U.S." Look, I would rather live in like a medium society, but if I had to choose between those two extremes, anarchy. And the thing with anarchies is it's like the law. It's like it's like the wild, right? There is always going to be some order that comes out of it. So a lot of times it's going to be whoever's the strongest or the most powerful guy at the moment. He's going to be the top dog, and it might be whatever I say go. Or it might be like little groups, right? And each group has a leader, and they have their own set of rules. So, you know, order will come out of it. It's just a much different order than like a government, right? A government body over a whole country. He said, "Thank God I live in the U.S." Yeah, man. I like living in a society where the people vote. I think that's a great where you let the people kind of come up with the rules, even though the U.S. ain't perfect in any way either. But yeah, so based on like Tequila Wolf, I'm in agreement. I believe that its purpose is control, right? Its purpose is control. Because when you look at the sea, it's too free, right? It's too freeing. You can pretty much do whatever you want, go anywhere. But the more, if you're pretty much telling people like, hey, use the bridge, you control them. You control how they move. In Angel's Room, I know you don't like the whole them doing trade aspect, but it makes sense because you want to control trade. you know. So, in taxing is going to make money. Like taxes at the end of the day, world government, the world government doesn't have an infinite amount of money. I know that they might have a lot of money, but they don't have an infinite amount of money. It's finite. They spend money, they need to replenish their money. So that's why countries tax, right? Just like the US, we're probably one of the most richest governments in the world. That don't mean they don't still try to get money, bro. That don't mean they don't try to get money. They still go and tax and get money, you know. So I think I think the bridges are meant for more of a control narrative, right? You know, it's going to be used for commerce versus ships because, you know, it's more of a control aspect. Uh, and for like troop movement, right? For troop movement. You know, you moving your troops, your weapons, your uh vehicles, your big weapons, all that, right? So it solves multiple purposes, you know, but I believe commerce is definitely one of those purposes, you know. So Angel's Room says separating into groups is the worst thing that could possibly happen. So I'm saying in a anarchy type society, people are going to congregate into different groups. Like if you ever watch perfect example, if you watch Walking Dead, right? There's always like these groups, you know, you got these people who meet each other and it's a very anarchist society. You got these people that come across each other and meet each other and they group up to survive, and then there's other groups that do the same thing, you know. That's usually, you know, type of, you know, and my point is when you live in an anarchy society, that tends to be what happens, you know. You get people that create these groups and eventually, you know, some groups might come together and then eventually that's when you eventually start building governments again. You know what I'm saying? So and my purpose of saying that is it's a cycle, you know. Anarchy creates organization, or and eventually turns into governments. Governments might topple eventually, create an anarchy cycle. Um. So you think the world government going to ban riding ships? General interesting take. I say it could potentially, you know, like they could do it to where it's a lot easier to police the seas. Like if they ban sea travel, that means whoever's on the sea is pretty much a criminal. So it makes discernment a lot easier because it's like, look, we got these bridges. Use the bridges. If you don't use the bridges and you use ships, maybe like a certain like authorized ships might be able to like authorized people might be able to use ships. So maybe it wouldn't be like a shoot first type ordeal, but maybe certain ships could be used, and that could be stuff like transporting food and stuff to these little ports on the bridge. You know, like these little towns where people are going to stop every once in a while to rest and get food. You have ships bringing food to these ports. Like they might be like government regulated ports, right? Coming in on government ships, you know, and then make it to where there's no other ships on the seas other than government approved ships. And any other ship is going to be classified as a pirate, you know. So it again, it creates a level of control, you know. It creates a level of, you know, you're consolidating, you know, you're making it to where, you know, people move about on these bridges from island to island, country to country, or island to island, blue to blue, whatever, you know. Like, and I'm not saying they're going to ban ships for sure. I just think that could possibly what they're going for, right? Because, like I said, there, if you look up this conspiracy theory, right, it's a conspiracy theory. Um, like you could search mega cities, like in the U.S. There's this website, I think it's US 2050. And it's a real website. You know what I mean? It's It's sponsored by the Rockefeller family. So that also kind of feeds into the conspiracy theorists, right? And or you could just go research mega cities, right? And the purpose of these mega cities, I said earlier in the stream, is they create these it's like multiple regions in different parts of the country, and they try to move everybody into these regions, and everything outside of the regions are going to be like unused land. You know what I'm saying? Unused land. And they create these big bridges, these big highways that connect from each mega region, completely skipping small cities. And so the point is to keep the only thing that's connected is these mega regions. And if you live outside of the mega regions, you'll pretty much have to survive on your own, You know what I'm saying? And that's I don't even know if they're gonna be policing the outside parts. But yeah, there's conspiracy theories on that. So look it up. Like you can look up mega cities, USA 2050, all those things. And that kind of, to me, it kind of is kind of giving me the same impression with these bridges, these Tequila Wolf bridges, right? These mega highways, it's just giving me the same feel. It's control, right? If they move everybody in the country into these mega regions, they control us a lot more, And I'm not trying to turn this into a conspiracy channel. I'm just throwing that out there because it goes kind of hand in hand for me with this topic. Angel's Room said that would actually make a lot of sense and wouldn't be surprising. All I'm saying is that it is going to be very difficult to make sure food is at certain place at the certain time. It would probably be a cycle, right? Where it's like a continuous cycle where it's just like every Thursday you got a ship of new goods coming in, and maybe they bring enough food to last a week, on average, right? Enough. They bring enough goods to run between 1 to 2 weeks, but they kind of forecasted to go in a week just in case, right? But it's enough to last 2 weeks, but that's being liberal, being conservative a week, and they do it on a cycle. Each port gets food, Cause like and when I was talking about my point when I said what I said earlier, like when you look at these slave camps, right? These slave camps on this bridge that been continuously building this bridge. So at one point the bridge might have been this much, but at the point that Robin got there, it could have been like, we don't know how long that bridge was, right? It could have been a very long bridge. Like going from the one end to where they were probably could have took like weeks, possibly. Like we don't know. We don't know how long it took, right? So, but they obviously have something planned, or they have something in place, a system in place that will ensure that they're always getting enough goods to the camp, regardless where they're at on this construction. So by that logic, what I'm saying is by that logic, they pretty much seem like it doesn't matter how far out of the middle of the ocean they are. They obviously have something in place to bring them their goods, food, materials, all these things. So that would also lead me to believe that once they got these highways built and people are using them, that there would be some type of system in place to make sure that regardless where they're at on a bridge, that they will be getting goods, and I feel as though having ports, like having these communities every so often, it would make it a lot easier for people that's traveling. Because regardless why they're using that bridge, that's going to be a problem, regardless why they're using the bridge. If they're transporting troops, transporting equipment, they're going to have food at some point, right? So, you know, they got to get food brought to them if they run out, right? So, you know, seeing how it's such a long bridge, you know, Angel's Room said, I agree, best G thing on cycle. I feel like someone corrupt will take over the world government at some point again. Yeah, cycles. You know, that's how cycles work, you know. But we don't worry about Tequila Wolf thing unless One Piece does a 2,800 year time skip. Yeah, it's probably going to take I don't know if it's going to take that long, but at least maybe another 1,000 years, maybe. I mean, nah. Matter of fact, you might be right. It could be longer than that for real. It could be longer than that. One Piece cars, One Piece. They could be coming up with some type of train system for the bridge as well, right? Kind of like a sea train, except it's actual bridge, right? Like there could be stuff they're actually going to build to make the travel much faster. But yeah, I agree. Like I don't think Tequila Wolf is ever going to be a key thing in the story. Like they might explain its purpose, but I think it's a long ways off to be completed for it to have any significance. Like for it to like I don't think it's going to be built by the end of the series to where we're going to actually see why it's used. They might even stop because remember the Revolutionary Army pretty much came and liberated the slaves, so they probably don't even have like manpower to move it. But knowing the world government, they probably got some more. They probably got some more slaves to continue. That was probably just a minor setback. And then he says they already got the technology for the cars. They do. Yeah, they do. They do. But yeah, so that's all I really have for the video at least, right? I thought it was an interesting topic to talk about. I feel as though I was making a lot of reaction videos about Sun God Nika, Joy Boy, the Gummo Gummo no Mi Awakening. It's like that's all people are talking about right now, right? So there's still so much of the One Piece world to talk about, right? Like I don't want to keep having to talk about Joy Boy and Sun God Nika all week, like every stream, every week, right? I mean, I know it's wild what's going on in the chapters, which is cool. I'm not knocking it. I'm loving it. I'm loving everything going on right now. I love the discussions of Sun God Nika, but I want to talk about other One Piece stuff as well. So make sure y'all guys send me some stuff, man. Send me some content to react to. Best place to send it is going to be the Discord. So y'all make sure y'all are on the Discord and you could message it to me or post it, share it everywhere. It's whatever, man. It's whatever. Angel's Room said, great stream. Sorry about my stubbornness. You good, man. You good. It's just, it was getting to a point where like, and I'm a little stubborn too, so I can't be mad at you, man. I'm stubborn too. I know it. It was just, I had to come up, sometimes I got to come up with a resolution to these arguments, because if I would have let it keep going, we could have just been debating the whole stream, and it's like, man, we got a video to react to, right? So, we kind of had to use Cube's intervention, to keep the stream on, to put the stream back on track, but it's all good, man. It's all good. It's nothing wrong with challenging opinions, right? It's nothing wrong with that. It makes my argument much stronger. I mean, you was making some great points. I'm not knocking. You definitely made me have to think of some stuff, right? But yeah. So okay, so this week I was telling you guys about this podcast that I'm gonna probably start like a new segment, right? Which is gonna be a podcast. I wanna start a podcast. Probably Saturdays, right? Saturdays and sometimes on Fridays if I can't do it that Saturday. Uh, so I'm thinking of doing it. I was thinking of starting it this week. I talked to you guys about it earlier this week, but I think I'm gonna hold off onto it because I really do want to make this something unique and special, right? Like something that I'm gonna make that I'm gonna grow it. So I want to work. I want to maybe get some unique branding for it specifically. Something that separates it from all my other One Piece content because I don't want it to be the same as all my other streams, right? Because this is going to be a podcast as well, right? It's something I might put on like I don't know some platform so you guys can listen to it while you're at work or whatever. You know what I mean? So, like if you don't catch it then, y'all can always go back and listen to it. And I also want it to be something to where we're talking about stuff other than just One Piece, right? Talk about video games, talk about other anime series, and I definitely want your guys' input on certain things like topics, what you guys want to talk about, But I'm not going to do it this weekend, I'm probably going to get like a logo for it and everything. I don't know yet, well, I will, But before I start it, I want to get all these things together, get everything in order, solid idea, solid plan, all those. So it might be something I'm a shelf for now, just for now. I might shelf it for a while, honestly, because I might be moving in the next upcoming months, like moving to a different state. I'm over in the U.S., guys. If y'all don't know, but I want to say around June I might be moving, and so before I start something major such as a podcast, I want to like do the move, get settled in, and then start it. So there's no interruption. Because once I do that move, y'all might not get no content from me for like a week or two, possibly. Like it my channel might be quiet. Or I might do something, maybe some live streams on my phone or something. Like I don't know. Because I don't want to just completely stop, but at least with the chapter discussions, because I want to definitely keep those going. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna hold off, guys. I'm gonna hold off on that. But I still might do something on Saturday, something unique. It's gonna be the podcast without it being the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna use the name or anything or any of the ideas, but I'm gonna still have it to where I'm gonna come up here and we could talk about One Piece. It's just gonna be a One Piece discussion stream. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So it's gonna be kind of a template for the podcast we're gonna do in the future. So yeah, but yeah, that's gonna be probably Saturday. So yeah, so just look at that as another stream and not the idea that I'm gonna be executing. But yeah, anyway, y'all, make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so y'all know when I go live. Also, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you're looking for a One Piece community to be a part of, we have the One Piece Facebook group and the One Piece Discord. Everything I just mentioned will be down in the description box, as well as the video we just reacted to. So y'all go to the original video, go show Joy Boy some love, hit that like button, maybe go subscribe to catch his other content. And yeah, anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God. Y'all have a good weekend, or no, what am I talking about weekend for? We middle of the week. Y'all have a good day. A good Wednesday. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow with another stream. Make sure y'all send me videos. Send me stuff y'all want me to react to. Y'all can send it to me in the Discord. Just send it. Give me stuff. Send me stuff. That's probably one of the things, having to decide what I'm gonna react to. That's tough sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, You know, dang, I've reacted this already, reacted something like that already. So yeah. Anyway, y'all take it easy. I'm out. Peace.